Hello, this is Cuckoo. Today I'm a bit excited because I'm releasing a new song today. It's called Up Late, and it's about me being up late at night playing video games in my teenage years. That's kind of where it all started out for me. My excitement for synthesizers, it came from video games, especially the Sega Mega Drive. So, yeah, what I want to do today with this song is to go through the whole track, you know, track by track structure, talk a bit about how I structured the song, how I achieved the different kinds of sounds, and how I made it all. Hey, oh, sorry, not now, okay? Yeah, can talk later. Yeah, yeah, okay. Well, and just gonna go through the whole structure, and yeah, all of those pieces that make the song, and yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so here we are. This is Logic Pro. I'm using Logic Pro. I've also been using Ableton Live and Cubase back in the days. But now I'm using Logic Pro since almost 10 years, I think. I think it has a great value for the money. That's why I moved to Logic. But so does Ableton Live. So, well, anyway, this is Logic Pro, and I like it because I can color tag everything in a way that makes sense to me. Usually, I tag all the rhythms in yellow hues, and like bassy stuff in brown, and synthesis stuff in green and kind of screaming colors, and sort of mid-tone, lower mid-tone stuff in like purple and stuff. So we can see that this song has very little warm mid-tone stuff just by looking at the color codes that I put on it. And also the lead vocal is always red in my little thing. Okay, so I'm just going to start the beginning of the song here to see what it sounds like. And this is the raw mix coming from me before mastering. The mastering engineer, he took it to a whole new level. Just starting out there, a little intro. Yeah, so let's just go through what happens in the beginning there and what I'm doing. You can see this here. Down here, we've got something called OP1 suitcase. It's a suitcase is it a factory preset? I'm not sure. Maybe it is. It's a factory preset. This is called Open3 Fluffify Heat and stuff. Okay, let's isolate this one to begin with. Solo. Okay. So I'm playing around. As you can see by just looking at this, it's chopped up, and I've done stuff in Logic to it. It's obviously a recording of something, but it's chopped up immensely. So let's take a look here what it is. There's just one sample, and as you can see here, I've also tagged it by calling it heat, and everything that I name heat has gone through the analog heat from Electron, like adding texture or adding crunch or something. In this case, I'm adding like a texture that wasn't really there. So the analog heat is very good at adding some sort of texture to the sounds. Yeah. Oh, and if we open it up like this, we can see the automation. We can see that, there's actually quite a bit of automation here. So what are these automations? This is a pitch shifting thing. It's actually just one sample. It sounds like this. And then I'm pitch shifting it to create a little melody there. And I'm sending some reverb to make like this epic, I don't know. I want to start this song with a really nice and fluffy intro and get into to a world in a way. And I always think it's very difficult to create intros because I just want to head straight into the melodies or straight into the music. But if you create like a magical little portal, a little opening, it's going to be so much more welcoming to come into the song. So pitch shifting this thing, and this is another sample, reverb, and mixing it a bit out, and picking different parts of the sample, of the recording. And this does not repeat. There's the finished one, which does repeat. There is some repetition in the actual instrument from the OP1. This is played on the OP1. The OP1. Woo! And yeah, so that's one little piece of the intro. Let's check out this other second track. There's also kind of coexisting with the other one. So a sort of fluffy melodic bass, like an upper bass. And together, they sound like this. So this is all, you can hear the sound, right? It's kind of fluffy and atmospheric. I wanted to create this roundness and, yeah, atmosphere, I think is the word. So let's see what I'm using on this one. Well, we can see on the side here where the effects are, there's actually no processing. There is no effect on this track. No EQ, no nothing. This is straight from the analog keys and then into the analog heat and then unprocessed. So I'm trying as much as I can to nail the sounds even before they get recorded. This way they can sound much more authentic and yeah, if they're unprocessed, there is like a naturalness to them sometimes that is hard to create with yeah, effects. And on the second one, the only effect I had there was the pitch shift, which is built-in. It's not the world's best pitch shifter, but it's fun because it sounds a bit quirky. And yeah. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, I'm gonna see what next. This is a bass in there. Let's see. Yeah. This is a sort of sub-bass landscape. And you can see it's OP1 heat bass. It means it comes from the OP1, is also gone through the analog heat. It's a bass. And most of it, if I'm using presets, I'm also writing the preset here because it's very difficult to find the sounds again. But this time it was something that I just wiggled at the time. And you can see here a bass, also using some EQ. Sometimes with a bass, I mean, you want to control the bass frequencies, right? But in my opinion, I think it's also important to have some sort of air in there. If there is some nice air in the bass, at least I think it's very pleasant to listen to. Okay, so let's listen to these three together. This kind of sub bass. Yeah, so there we go. Okay. And then I sneak this in here. It's called Mousetrap. It's also from the analog keys. Some sort of echo there. So where does the echo come from? Let's check it out here. Let's in fact open up the automation and see. Okay, I'm sending to the reverb. I'm sending to tape delay. So at this point, I'm sending a little. You can also watch this parameter here, these two. Yeah. And a lot of times I record these parameters at live. I'm turning this into the touch mode, every track that I want to automate, and then just wiggle it by hand a few takes. I could also draw the automation here, but sometimes I like the fact that when you do stuff by hand, you add a little human touch to it that is a bit difficult to replicate. Like when I do it, I respond to the music that's going on right there and then, and that makes me wiggle in a way that responds immediately to the music, rather than to program it by drawing the curves here. I mean, in this case, it wouldn't make a big difference, but that's how I feel when I do it. Okay, so and this, you can also see that there are some effects there that I probably chose not to use after all, like a chip crusher and a delay. And then in the end, I felt like, no, it's actually nicer without the effect. So yeah, this is clean, straight from the analog keys. Okay, so together they sound like this. And I'm a melody-holic, an absolute melody-holic, so we can hear instantly that the melody is taking place right now. And I think that's the biggest difference between electronica genres and pop genres. I mean, this is pop music, I guess. It's structured in a sort of pop music way, and it has lead melodies that's moving forward, whereas electronica genres basically don't have a clear melody all the time that is pushing the song forward, but moves between different states, progressively building up. Yeah, so this is pop music. Yeah, I'm Cuckoo, I'm making pop music. Okay, so yeah, let's listen to that. What else? I'm introducing some rhythms up here as well. Let's see. Yeah, this one is first. Actually, I grouped all the rhythm, I grouped them into one group here. Oh, sorry. Into one group I call drums. Yeah, drums. So I had a plan of making it was easier for me to mix, but as you can see, the drums channel has actually there's no compression or anything. But it was, yeah. Sometimes I do that in order to make sure that the melodic stuff and the drum stuff don't compete too much. And if I group them, I can kind of compress the end result of each group differently. But in this case, I ended up not doing anything with that. So let's listen to the drums. Just the whole drum section is right here. Okay. Yeah, that's a little rim shot sound from the analog rhythm. Analog rhythm. And some hi-hats coming in there. And some kick. Yeah. This one, the rim. Basically, I make most of this rhythm. I make a pattern on the analog rhythm in this case, and I play it there, record it live, and perhaps I wiggle a little things there on the actual device when I record it. As you can see, this is a multi-track recording. So the question is, do I multi-track record it in one go? No, basically not, because I like the end compression and the end distortion on the analog rhythm. I like it, so I want everything to go through that end state basically. So what I'm doing is I'm recording one track at a time and then start it over again and record the next song. or the next track. And in a way, that gives me much more precise control of each track, because then I could focus just on the hi-hat and make adjustment to just that. I could make adjustment on the fly to just the kick drum and stuff. But in the end, if we look at the whole list of percussion, all the yellow stuff, we can see a lot of it is loop based. This is like a loop. So I looped it actually in Logic. And but this is a long chunk. This is a longer chunk. And and these are shorter chunks, and each of this little section has sometimes choices that I made on the fly when I record it to create variations to the music. Yeah. Okay, so let's listen to that again. I think this one is almost clean. Yeah, we can see here I used a little EQ. So this is to filter out the thump. Perhaps if we turn it off, it sounds very different. So what I've done is I picked up this particular frequency, which has the tone, dong, 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 and I wanted it there. I wanted this to be a tone. So if I kill this one, which is it? Yeah, if I kill it, we don't hear that tone. But the tone is hidden in that drum, and I didn't add it in the actual on the analog rhythm, so I added it here again. So yeah, and I killed the whole lower end. Yeah. Okay, the next one. But as you can see, it's still not really that much going on. And this bus is going to space reverb. So I added some reverb to it. Okay, and this hi-hat, I'm going to mute that for a while. Yeah, let's check it out. So this is also just a little EQ there. So I killed a little frequency there that I felt kind of disturbed the mix in a way. To make it softer in the air. This is it. Yeah, as you can hear in the beginning of this song, this is kind of soft. It's a soft pop by Cuckoo. Let's turn that back on and okay. You have some gaming tonight. Okay, let's go through the kick here. You can hear this, and when we start looking at the kick here, we can say, "Oh, holy crap! This is a lot of processing going on here." Even though it doesn't sound that processed, I mean, it sounds kind of muffled. So why would I go through this extent of effects? Let's turn them all off and see what it sounds like. It sounds almost the same. Sometimes you're kind of in the whole mix. You're like, oh, it's sticking out just a tad too much, or if there just was some more level of bass in there, or some sub, or some crispy stuff. This is the original. So this is the one coming straight from the analog rhythm. Yeah, it has a bit of air in there from the analog rhythm itself. And it sounds pretty beefy and not too bad. And then I recorded it through, I re-recorded it because I thought it didn't really have that kind of texture or anything in it. So I re-recorded it to the analog heat, and then it sounded like this. But then I felt like, yeah, maybe I missed some of the bass or boom or anything. And then I recorded it again through the analog heat, hit like a second pass. And now it has a little bit more drive. Okay, let's turn these on one by one. First, an EQ. It looks like this. So this, I felt like this frequency was a bit too much boomy in my ears in the whole mix. So then I turn on a multiband compressor. I'm using this called Fab Filter. I think they create some really, really great filters, and it's like they're easy to use and they sound really well and they respond really well. Both the EQ, this is the only EQ basically I use nowadays. So we can see here that I'm kind of taming the sub and the bass a little bit. Not sure if I'm making the right calls every time, but yeah, I'm trying. And also here I wanted some of the attack of the crispy part, but I decided to kind of tame it a little bit there too. And then I probably felt something. I felt like I had to make a tiny adjustment here to bring back some of that what I'm taming here, to bring it back here. And a lot of this is almost inaudible, but you know, as you play this 1,000 times over, you hear more and more stuff, and you get more and more critical and creative in how to find a solution to get the sounds spread out evenly, not interfering with each other. Okay, so the next filter here is a limiter, also from Fab Filter. So now I'm beefing it up a bit. This is a great limiter. This is, I haven't used all the limiter in the world, but this is a really good, pretty much non-destructive sounding limiter. It sounds really good. So now we hear some of that crunchiness from the analog heat. Much more. And this gain, I decided to, after it was limited, to take it down again, and then another EQ in the end here that looks like this. See what it does. Slightly rolling off this, taming this frequency and slightly making it more creating a contour, I'd say. Okay, so that's the kick. Let's listen to it together now. And drums. And this is the pew. It's coming in right there. Analog rhythm. So this, cool. This is a ride. And I can't always remember what, if I used a sample or if I didn't. There's probably a mix of samples. As we go into the heavy part here, and just listening to the drums now, I can think of a million. This was made in April, I think, this year, and now having left this and coming back to it, I can feel like, I should have done this and that and added more space to it, add like more definition to it. But once you're in it, you make a lot of decisions based on a lot of things. So if I listen to everything together now.
Mama said get home now. All I said was no. Mama said get home now. All I said was no. Mama said get home now. All I said was no.
We can hear that at this point there's a lot of stuff going on. So navigating through the soundscape in this part of the song is actually really difficult, because it's yeah, there's so many sounds there, and they all, yeah, they all sound, uh, yeah, it's getting busy, right? It's getting very crowded. So, yeah, hey, we talked about it. I'm recording a video, okay? Hey, Rosa, yeah, okay, yeah, next time. Okay.
Mama said get home now. All I said was no. Mama said get home now. All I said was no.
Okay, so that's the rhythm. Let's see. What about this one? It's called Pluck, PS2 Pluck Heat. This is something coming from the. Oh, where is it? I want to show you. This is a sound coming from the Volca FM. Ooh, it's dusty. Sorry. Yeah, Volca FM. And I created it to sound like a sound from Phantasy Star 2. It's a really nice RPG from the Sega Mega Drive. So let's listen to it. But it's severely changed. The sound itself does not sound like that. So it actually sounds like this. So this is the original recording of the sound. This is straight from the Volca FM. And together, if I turn this off now, let's see. You have some gaming tonight. It has this warm, nice sound, but then I felt like, no, it's just drowning in the mix. And I tried to use chip crusher and some delay and some EQ here to get it to this point. Yeah, but then I felt like, no, it's not cutting it. So I ran it through the analog heat again, and I created a totally different sound for it. And now in the mix, I think it created a different place for it in the mix, and it sounds a bit more wonky and funky and a bit more unpredictable, I think. So I'm using like a preset where I'm creating this wow sound from on the analog heat. So yeah, with an LFO and stuff. Okay, cool. Let's go. Okay, let's listen to this. What is it? Yeah. This is coming from the Nord Modular G2. I created like an FM synth that is very nice to use there. The FM or phase modulation is really good there. But it sounded a bit clean, so I also ran it through the analog heat. As you can see, I'm using the analog heat a lot in my recordings because it's a great way to create texture and control the bass and create an atmosphere that wasn't really there maybe all the time in the original sounds. So it's a really nice tool, if you ask me. I'm using the analog heat a lot when recording. And here we can also see that a little help from the EQ, boosting the bass a little bit, diminishing this kind of, I don't know, nasal lower mid-range, which often gets a bit muddy. Just a tad of lift there. Without it, we can barely hear the difference. But in the whole mix, I made this call. So I'm helping the bass here. If I turn it off, it's like there are two basses. One is like doom, doo dum, a bit more funky, and then it's this more dum 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 dum, or maybe it's dum. No, yeah. So they play together and create this kind of bass mess, and then it's because bass, if you mess around with the bass, it quickly gets a bit muddy and busy in the bass. So I'm trying to be really precise here with the two basses. Let's see, where's the other one? Yeah, here. So this has much more lower end, whereas this one has much more higher frequencies. And one would think that you would keep these in the same place, but for some reason I didn't. Yeah, okay. So that's the bass. Okay. How about this? OP1 melody double. Okay, let's see what it is. It's starting over here. And as you can hear, I'm sometimes doing really sloppy editing. Like right here, for instance. You can clearly hear that I'm cutting and then entering again. What was in there was another tone. Let's listen to the whole take. I was landing back on that. But I felt like, no, it's too much. And when I left some space there, yeah, I don't know. I liked it that way. You have some gaming tonight. So what is it? Let's turn these off. You can hear that it's a bit fuller in the original recording. So what I'm doing here in the first one is apply a compressor to kind of bring it into a more compressed state. And that is also bringing up some of the noise, which I like. Sometimes I like to add the noise because it's adding some sort of texture and atmosphere to it. So sometimes as you can see here, I keep these long, silent parts there without suppressing the noise. And it's actually because I like the noise to be there. Even this, it's a noise coming from the recording. Okay, and the next one is an EQ, which is very specialized, as you can see. Okay. So I'm finding frequencies in relation to the other musical instruments and especially to the vocals. I think that kind of interferes with vocals, because once there is vocal in the music, you want to make sure that you can hear the lyrics and you can hear what's going on with the song, with the vocals. Otherwise, the role of the vocal gets really muddy and strange if you compete with the specific voice that you're mixing. So my voice, I'm not an expert on mixing vocals. I think it's very difficult, but the more I work with it, the more I understand, everything doesn't have to be overly crispy, and to find the right place in the sound. Like now, I diminished a lot of these crispy frequencies here, but it's still very crispy, right? So sometimes it's just about getting down the frequencies. You don't want to compete with the vocals or other elements, and then to a state where it's enough to give just about the right room for another instrument to bloom. Okay, so that's this one. You can hear this is very similar to this Mousetrap. Let's isolate these ones. Mousetrap and OP1 melody double. So analog keys, OP1, analog keys. Yeah, they work together. They have sort of the same role, but they're slightly different.
Yeah, your place? Yeah. We play.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so let's move on. This is, as you can see by the naming, Vocal 1 New Arrangement Sketch. So this is, I started out as a sketch and then I dubbed over it and I kept that track for the leads. So let's just listen to this.
We played, staying up late, we played games and stuff. We played, staying up late, we played, oh, we're staying up late. Down now,
Yeah, and as you can see there, I'm muting it. Yeah, it's like heavy choppy muting there, and this is not the. If I, okay, let's bring it up there and see what it sounds like.
We played.
I had an idea of doing this. We play, dun dun da ga. We play, da da da. We play, dun dun da ga 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 ga. Games and stuff. But in the end, it wasn't good enough, or maybe the idea was good, but I didn't like how it turned out.
We played, staying up late. We played games and stuff.
So I'm letting the samples take that role instead. So if we just listen to this part now.
We played, staying up late. We played games and stuff.
I had, like, the idea was to perform like a sampler with my voice unedited, but then in the end I felt like maybe I'm not that great of a kind of human beatbox guy. It wasn't cool enough in my ears. So what I did was, let's see, I think it's this channel, isn't it? I'm playing stuff on. I'm gonna lift it here just so it's easier to see them. So let's listen to this together.
We played games and stuff. We played, staying up late. We played, oh, we're staying up late. Come on.
So this is, I mean, the song is about video games, it's playing up late as a teenager, and
we played.
So I created this. I got a huge library of sounds from Mega Drive games, specifically, which I've recorded over the years, and I put them in a little kit here on the OP1 and made different kind of performances here. And then, as you can see, it's kind of heavily edited, right? So cutting out just the right part and putting it like programming it where I want it to be.
We played games and stuff. We played, staying up late.
Let's have a look on this, recording it and see what's hidden. And that was actually the end of something. Let's drag this out and see. Okay. So this is actually, as you can see when I did this, it's actually the same. It is the same recording there, but I've decided to chop it up just to have more control of the programming. And this is something completely different. It's like a long recording of different sample entries. This, it's the same, and I decided to do like the same, repeat the same sample there.
Games and stuff. We played.
And I chopped it up like this because I wanted this element to have this programmed feel to it. So it's an element coming from a game that is programmed, whereas this is human. Okay. See if I've got some coolest effects. And this, yeah, perhaps some of you can spot where they come from, these samples. Some of them are kind of generic, but yeah, this one, yeah. As you can hear, I'm also wiggling the tempo there. And that is something I'm doing on the fly, on the OP1 when I'm recording it, just to, yeah, make it fun there. Yeah, this is a clap from a game. It could be like a punch or something. And these are coins and, you know, bumping into cars, weapons, selections, entry selections, and menus. All of these different sounds from games that I collected. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go through the library here. Okay, let's go into this folder. This is where all the sounds are. Sound effects. Okay. Aleste. Very nice. Okay. So different, you know, shots and explosions and stuff. Alien Storm. I kind of label the ones that I tag the ones that I like. Sometimes I use this. Devil Crash, a flipper game by Technosoft on the Mega Drive. Yeah, and some of like Streets of Rage 1 and 2 has got epic soundtracks. Yeah. These are great. Yeah, there you go. 93 there. Let's see. Here. Yeah. Yeah. So it's, I'm collecting. And sometimes I think like, is this okay to sample? But then, you know, it's a game and it's a short sample. I'm sure it's okay. Yeah, and this part is like a solo. Like, okay, listen to this.
Mama said get home now. All I said was no. Mama.
Okay, so let's listen to these 3 tracks together.
Mama said get home now. All I said was no. Mama said.
Yeah, I think it has energy, and so I tried so many different solos for this little break here, and nothing worked. Nothing worked. It was very difficult. In the end, I ended up programming like a game. Yeah, and I think like, yeah, it kind of worked. It made me happy. And then I looped the audio there. Also, momentarily using this, no, that was the panning. Let's see. Where is it? Volume, send, pitch shift. Yeah, using momentarily a pitch shift on the vocals there. Let's see. To kind of exit the loop with style. Yeah. Okay. So what else? What else is there to talk about here? Let's see. Yeah, we got this octa guitar. Octa guitar. Do you know what that is? It's an octa track guitar. Okay, solo. So what I did is, I was in Cyprus at the time, in the Mediterranean Sea, having a really nice time there, and I brought a lot of stuff with me and borrowed a studio of a friend, and he had this steel guitar, and I borrowed it and recorded it and created this, like a whole range of you know, musical entries on the guitar, and structured it to fit this song. And then I think I made like 32, 40. Yeah, I think I made like 40 slices or something, and like the first 16 slices were for the beginning of the song. The next 16 slices were more like for the end of the solo. So listen to this. That is actually a raw recording. Let's see what I've done to the sound. I'm gonna turn off the effects there. Yeah, basically I just give it a facelift, like EQ and compression. Kind of kill some of those thumping sounds, and yeah, kind of, I don't know, comb it a little bit in the top. There's a bit too many frequencies in there to compete it with the vocals and the mix. So let's see. With this one, most of the entries here are actually just raw takes, raw recordings, unaltered. But with this kind of programmed nature to it, I've retimed a lot of them. So let's take a look and see which one of them are actually retimed. Okay. So everything that's just in one color is a raw recording, a raw take. No retiming. This is not retimed. How about this? No, it's just... Oh, sorry. You can listen in context.
We had bigger plans, we had games and stuff, we had bigger plans, we had always bigger plans. Mama said.
Yeah, listen to that. So what the idea behind the samples is to create each sample with its own intention. If they're all kind of just loose and generic, it will be very boring to play it afterwards, because then all the tones will sound generic. But each note that I sampled, I made a little wiggle, a little vibrato, like a mishit, or a little variations basically. And yeah, I think it's making it come to life in a whole new different level if you create variations of each of the samples. As you can hear, yeah, some of it is pretty tight.
All I said was no, mama.
Okay, but let's fast forward a bit, and over here we can see there's some white here. That means I have retimed it because I was sloppy in the timing. And that's, yeah, most of it up to the solo is more or less unaltered. But in the solo, okay, let's come from here. So what I'm doing here, I'm stretching the entry points. So everything. It is in fact just one take. It is one take, but as you can see, I've kind of altered the tempo so that, or the timing, so it's much more precise than what I was performing. So all the blue parts, they are unaltered. All the white and grays, they are kind of stretched to fit the exact timing. So all in all, when I made that solo, I was like, whoa, this really, I kind of nailed it. You know, when you work on something for a long time and you sort of nail it, it's so much fun. And now I know this solo by heart, so I kind of doubled it, didn't I? Let's see. I doubled it with a vocal here. Let's see. Because then, when I'm doubling it with the vocal, it sounds even more live. It's like I'm humming along my own solo. I'm listening to it now. I'm actually quite proud of how that I managed to take this whole this whole piece here with more or less a lot of the pieces, they work so well together. I think it's a lot of fun. Okay, let's listen to it in the whole mix now. From here. So I want to create this kind of down section that slowly builds up again in a kind of in a not too conventional way. Ooh, look at this. And now this is like the second piece of the solo, slowly coming to an end, and then leaving room for the vocals again. In the end, we didn't get home, but you trusted me, Mom. You let me choose my own way, and for that, I'm so grateful, Mom. Yeah, so that is the song, and how I made the song, how I kind of produced the song to sound like it sounds like, and some of the choices that I made. And feel free to add some comments and questions in the comments and stuff on if you've got further questions about what the heck I'm doing here. But now I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure of the song. As I mentioned earlier, I see this as some sort of pop music, and I'd like to call it electro or something, but looking at my songs, I have to confess that it is pop music. It has an intro, it has a verse, it has like a structure that is very similar to straight up pop music. This one has a bit more loose kind of structure, but let's see. I'm gonna check it out. Intro. Building up the atmosphere. Getting into the mood. This is like the intro, section number 2, introducing a little melody. And now, introducing the theme of the lyrics.
Yeah, your place. Yeah.
This is the first verse.
We played, staying up late. We played.
And because of the verse is so tightly connected to that kind of game sounds, it has a bit more unconventional, I don't know, approach or something. Because my idea in the beginning, as I told you, was like, we play, we play, da da dum da da, to kind of keep singing, and it might have been a kind of a easier to follow road, but I felt like this was more interesting to alternate between these. But it is still like the verse of the song.
We played,
so from here,
up late, we played games and stuff.
we played.
Staying up late, we played. Oh, we're
Okay,
staying
so
up
now
late.
it's sort of a bridge. Oh, not a bridge, but I don't know, a middle part. I'm building up. Coming to verse number 2. We can feel it, right? And that kind of ending the middle part by sort of landing on the first note of the next verse. Like do do do. Like, dum dum dum. 2, 3, and there you go. Like putting the bass as kind of the beginning and the end of the two different parts. Kind of fit them together. We had bigger plans. We had games and stuff. We had bigger plans. We had always bigger plans. And now it's time for something new. Mama said get home now. B part, I guess. The A part and the B part. All I said was no. Mama said get home now. All I said was no. Mama said get home now. All I said was no. Yeah. And that was the solo, like the bridge solo, I don't know, middle part, the break. All I said was no. A little space for whacking up. Mama said get home now. And this is clear the chorus. Mama said get home now. All I said was no. Mama said get home now. All I said was no. Mama said get home now. All I said was no. And this is a sort of bridge over to this down-tempo part. Yeah. This. In the end, I didn't get home. As you can hear, I'm sending stuff into delay and reverb there in this part. Yeah. In the end, I didn't get. So that when we come here, we still got some of that energy coming from that kind of bridge, and still kind of looping in there. All I said was no. Yeah. In the end, I didn't get home. But you trusted me, Mom. So you let me choose. It's like a chill song. And this is where it kind of departs from the pop genre, so because grateful. This is kind of no pop artist would have like a down tempo place like this in the song, but I felt like it was really nice and went with the lyrics. Now leading up to the solo, bridge, down part, solo. And now we can see closing in some new elements here. This kind of jazzy thing there. Now bringing it up a notch, kind of breaking it down, bringing it up. Okay. And now we can see a clear cut here, right? And now sending sounds to the background with reverbs and you let me choose, giving space to the vocals. And for that, I'm so grateful, Mom. And also keeping some of that reverb in the end. Yeah, so this is the song. And what happened next is that when I reached this state, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's done. It's done. This is the version I want to send to the mastering engineer. What do I do then? Well, I could master it. In fact, what we've been listening to now, let's see, stereo out. I've actually applied some sort of mastering chain here. very simple, because I always knew that this, I'm not going to master this myself. I'm going to send this off to a mastering engineer. So what I've done here, and everything that we're listening to now, is going through this, an EQ, like a master EQ, some frequencies that I found was particularly kind of disturbing. I diminished them a bit. Maybe it was a bit overly too bright. And then I actually created a tad, we can see here, let's see, 3.8% of kind of room reverb in on the master. And then here, like a really simple to use slap-on limiter maximizer kind of thing. Just, sometimes I use that just to try it out, how it flattens out in the mastering. But what happens now is that I'm turning all this off, the mastering stuff, and I'm bouncing out 2 tracks, the instrumentals and the vocals, because I don't feel confident enough to mix the vocals and the music together. I never get it to work. I'm learning. So what I'm doing is I'm giving 2 tracks to the mastering engineer and ask him to kind of glue it together, because he can do it with such precision that I'm just not able to do. So and then I sit down with him for I'm not sure, perhaps it was just like an hour of work or 2 hours. Fairly quick. It's not a very difficult song, but it's a bit unconventional in the sound. And in the end, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna compare the mastered version. I'm just gonna find it. Main master. Okay. Mastered. Let's see what my version sounds like. Similar, but the volume is a tad higher, and it's more defined, crispier. Okay. You can hear that everything is much clearer. We had bigger plans. Okay. Oops. We had bigger plans. We had games and stuff. We had. Everything is so much more defined and clear, and you can hear the details in my voice, in the music. He has done a lot of work to make sure that everything is nicely represented in the mix. And even though he just gets like 2 tracks, he could bring out stuff in the mastering that I just don't have the skill to do that. So a professional mastering engineer, in my case, Propeller Mastering. His name is Chris Sansom. He's a fantastic guy, and I'm mastering everything that I'm doing through him. We had bigger plans. We had. Different mastering engineers can bring different flavors to the table. Some might have to be really creative to solve a lot of problems with the main mix, and maybe some of them can even contribute with their own kind of sound. It all depends on what you want from the mastering engineer and what's needed to be done to the raw mix. I had a problem with the guitar solo. I felt like it was a bit too harsh. So let's see what he did to that. Okay. I tried to bring it to a place where it wasn't harsh and it wasn't dull. It was difficult. Let's see what he did. Oh. I think he managed to strike a balance between being too dull, too harsh, and it's well represented in the mix. It is a solo. It should have focus, and cool. That's it. Yeah.
But you trusted me.
And these parts.
In the end, I didn't get home. But you trusted me, Mom.
Yeah.
You let me choose my own way. And for that, I'm so grateful, Mom.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking your time to watch this. This song is out on all the digital platforms, and it's on iTunes, Spotify, Google. I don't know what it's all called, but get there and listen to it and enjoy it. And I released 3 singles this year, and this is the last of those 3. And this is the previous one, and there's the first one. So Lily Bird and Backpack, and now Up Late. So this is like the trio of songs that I plan to release this year, and I have more in the pipeline, but it's not ready to be announced just yet. Okay. If you enjoy what I do here on YouTube and my tutorials and my talks and my interviews with the industry and jams and stuff, feel free to support me on Patreon, because that's a place where so many people have chosen to show me their appreciation, and it really helps. It helps me focus, and I can make more and more of this stuff that I want to do. I want to make more tutorials and more industry interviews and more reports and more jams and music and stuff. So thank you all so much for supporting me at Patreon. It really means a lot to me. And very nice. Thanks for listening to me, and hit me up in the comments, and peace out, and take care everyone.